Meteorologist Matthew East here with you in the Weather on the Ones Forecast Center. This is the Thursday, February 4th edition of the Carolina Weather Video here, and another winter weather event approaching the region. This is a look at the watch and warning status as of 5:30 this morning. And all the blue shaded counties there, that does include Cleveland, Lincoln, Iredell, Catawba County, and points west and north from there. That is a winter storm warning that's in effect. And the entire Triad area is under a winter storm watch. That'll likely be upgraded to a winter storm warning later today. And really the precip begins in North Carolina in earnest as we get into tonight. Now here's a look. Let me grab the radar shot first of all. That's a look at the radar imagery from across the country. And very moisture-packed system again, stretching from the southern plains, lower Mississippi Valley. Rain falling as far north at 5 o'clock or so this morning as Birmingham and southwest of Atlanta, and that moisture lifting northeast. So it's really not that far away already. This is the NAM, 1 o'clock in the afternoon here. Notice it's probably a little too slow with the onset of this precip as radar ahead of these the model return data here so far. But with that said, some of that moisture on the radar is evaporating, but altogether looks like it might be a little bit quicker than what the NAM is indicating. But I'll show you the NAM. I think it's doing a decent job overall. This is 1 o'clock this afternoon. This is 7 p.m. this evening. And notice, again, the blue line here, that is the freezing line up at about 5,000 feet or 850 millibars. And that's a rough estimation oftentimes of a snow line. And again, it's not always set in stone with that, but it's a good starting point. So we'll watch that line here. Watch as we get toward 1 a.m. On the NAM here, that holds fairly far south. You're still looking at the freezing line running from Charlotte down into the upstate, up at 5,000 feet. And then the precip really spreads in this evening and tonight. And the freezing line holds through 7 o'clock in the morning in those same general areas. Charlotte down toward the extreme northern upstate of South Carolina as that precip moves in tonight. So really, not a lot of change in my thinking. I think as we go into tonight, the precipitation moves in. And in many spots, it's going to be snow as the precip initially moves in. Some sleet could be mixed in as well. But as we get into tomorrow morning, that's when the temperatures aloft really warm. Notice by 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, that freezing line up at 5,000 feet all the way up into Virginia as you get some very significant warming aloft taking place. Now, that wedging is going to hold firm at the surface in many spots. So temperatures holding at or below freezing in a number of locations as the precipitation changes to rain. So what we'll see happen is tonight, snow moves in. It'll be after midnight for the Triad, maybe a little sooner down toward the parts of the Charlotte region. And again, many spots this could begin as snow, maybe mixing with sleet. But as we get into tomorrow morning, pretty early in the morning, I think we'll see this kick over to freezing rain in most spots. And then the freezing rain will persist in the foothills in the northwestern Piedmont for much of the day. Temperatures will slowly try to climb above freezing throughout this event. This is 1 a.m. on Saturday. And it's just simply a matter then whether you're seeing freezing rain or rain. It all depends on your surface temperature, how quickly you warm above freezing. And then we could see a little bit of push of some light snow Saturday morning, especially north of I-40, as one little piece of upper-level energy moves through. So let me show you the HPC graphics, and I'll show you my forecast I'm going with on air this morning. This is the day one, or I'm sorry, this is actually day two. The snow probability is greater than 4 inches. And notice the snow with this, in terms of at least 4 inches, staying off to the north of us largely. Although now with the snow moving in, I'm going to say this, I can't rule out a couple of inches of snow as the precip moves in some spots tonight. But again, we're going to quickly change over to either rain or freezing rain depending on your surface temperatures. And there's the greater than a foot category. And that's mainly up into northern Virginia, parts of West Virginia, over toward Maryland and Washington, D.C. It's going to be a huge snow event for them. Now, icing. This is the day one quarter-inch probability of icing here from the Storm Prediction. Not the Storm Prediction Center, the Hydrometeorological Prediction Center here, the HPC. And notice from the upstate, parts of the much of western North Carolina, and that slight probability of at least a quarter-inch of ice. Again, that's through 7 a.m. tomorrow. After 7 a.m. tomorrow, you see that icing potential very high from the northern foothills into the northwest Piedmont. And again, that's the outlook from the HPC. So here's what I'm going with. Like I mentioned, I think tonight, many spots could wind up picking up an inch or two of snow as the snow initially moves in. But then we kick over to freezing rain being the primary problem. And that's the idea I'm kind of going with. For the Triad, Could see a quarter-inch of ice, maybe locally more, especially the farther north and west you go. Charlotte, can't rule out a brief period of freezing rain, but this looks like mainly a rain event after the temperature's aloft warm enough to end any snow. So this looks like mainly rain for Charlotte, but it's close. But you get over toward Cleveland County, Lincoln County, Iredell County. That's where you could pick up a quarter-inch of ice, and then the icing gets more significant from there. Could be at least maybe 3/4 of an inch of ice in many mountain and foothill locations, and that could extend as far south and east as Hickory. And there could be some spots that pick up over an inch of ice with this. So this has the makings of a pretty bad ice storm in many spots in the foothills. And it's a tricky proposition as to how far south and east these icing concerns unfold. It's just going to be strictly a matter of temperatures. But as the event wears on, the temperatures aloft warm up pretty significantly, so it'll probably be fairly self-limiting in terms of ice accumulation in these eastern sections. But again, with that said, that's the ideas I'm going with. We'll refine that as necessary, but certainly freezing rain could be a problem for the Triad tomorrow morning. Probably going to be a pretty rough commute as we see the snow kicking over to freezing rain in many instances. And again, pretty bad ice storm it looks like for the foothills, maybe the extreme northwestern Piedmont. All right, here we go after that. Let's go out to Sunday, 1 o'clock. Looks like a dry and pretty chilly day. Monday, we're still dry, but there comes the next system. It swings in Tuesday, and it looks like it could involve some wintry weather. The specifics of that still unknown. And a quick look at the overall pattern here down the line still looks pretty favorable for fun and games. Split flow pattern, some cold air in the eastern part of the country. Southern branch is active, relatively suppressed storm track, so all sorts of potential down the line here deeper into February. All right, that's it for today's edition of the video. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful Thursday, and God bless.